So good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're calling from. I'm Nadine Saeed, co-founder, and with me is Rowan Ita Diaz.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for spending your Saturday with us.
We have a few of our board members with us today, too, so I'll first introduce Tanya Palacios. And Prakhar Gupta is also with us. His service is not so good.
Oh,
And he just dropped from the call. And then we have Mateo Diaz as well. He's driving, so I'm not sure if he can say hello. But for all of you in attendance, thank you so much for joining. This event is being recorded. We're going to post it on YouTube so that you're able to watch this on demand as you like. We're also going to use captions. So if you are speaking, just remember to speak slowly so it can keep up with how we talk. So this event is called the Grief Awareness Event. And the reason why we're doing this event is grief is something that your body's natural response to either a loss of a person or a loss of something. So for example, it can be loss of a pet, loss of the love of your life, loss of a career goal, perhaps just feeling lost. So there's a lot of different events that cause grief. And that's what we're here to talk about. And most importantly, we're here to talk about how grief impacts art. So we're going to talk about an iconic artist and a contemporary artist, our very own Rowan Ita, to show how grief can be expressed outside of using words, and how artists, even back from the 1600s till now, have used grief to inspire their pieces. Most importantly, in doing this event, we just want all of our supporters and community members to know that you're not alone. It's a lot more difficult to experience grief if you don't have a support. And we really want to be that support for you today. So, and forever, really. If you ever want to talk, Rowan and I are always here to do that. Rowan has created a template for this event. So Rowan, if you want to just share that with us.
So this is our grief awareness template, and if you go on our events page, so Nadine has the one that you can download, and we chose the ribbon because it represents support and awareness. And I painted mine black because black can represent despair. And even since historic times, especially in different cultures, people wear all black to represent that they're in mourning so that everyone knows what's happened. So with that, we can go into about how Rembrandt represents grief in his own artistic way.
So Rembrandt van Rijn is a Dutch artist from the 1600s. Rembrandt he's created the template and the map for a lot of iconic artists today. If you don't know his pieces, or just know the name Rembrandt from the toothpaste, which you're probably wondering, why is that named Rembrandt? The toothpaste actually named themselves Rembrandt because of the painter Rembrandt's commitment to quality. Rembrandt, from a really young age, had intellect that surpassed a lot of people his age. He was able to go to a school that taught him Latin and a lot of arts by the time he was 13. He came from a well-off family and was able to really embrace the opportunities he was given. When he was 16, he practiced under a master, and that master really showed him techniques about sketching, engraving, and canvassing, as well as self-portraits. Rembrandt, after his apprenticeship was over, wanted to know even more about how to perfect and really take his work to the next level, because he knew he was talented. He just wanted to excel that even more. So he practiced under another master who had painted in Italy. So he, without going to Italy, because as we know, traveling in the 1600s wasn't that easy, he was able to really adapt to the Italian style of art. And he picked up the Baroque style. So what I mean by that is he was really heavy on his paintings. I do want to show a few of his pieces to really emphasize the commitment that Rembrandt had to detail. So before Rembrandt, when artists did self-portraits during the 1500s, 1600s, it was very still and lifeless portraits. Rembrandt was the first artist to change that, and he created self-portraits and portraits of others where you could feel the movement in his pieces. You could see all of the attention to detail. And something new that no one had done before Rembrandt was he didn't try to make everyone seem like a god or a goddess and flawless. He painted them as real. And what I'll show and share, let me see if I can figure this one out. 1 second. Rowan, remind me how to share my screen.
At the bottom, there's an arrow that says present now if you hover over it.
At the bottom. Got it.
Next to the hand. Yeah.
Thank you. So Rembrandt really used his style to market and sell himself not only to the bourgeoisie, which was the upper middle class, but he wanted to sell himself to everyone. So he would paint things like this. So this was a piece that he was commissioned that was a very, very big deal. If he had gotten it right, this would have set off his career, which it did. This piece is called The Anatomy Lesson of Nicholas Tolke. And what you'll see, so these doctors at the time, they were going to do an anatomy project on a cadaver that was really going to set medicine off. And you can see the life he brings and the realism. Their facial features are very true to self. So it's not as if their noses or foreheads are done in a different way to make them seem perfect or flawless. You'll see the attention just to their natural form and all of the details. You can see even this gentleman's mustache. You'll see the hairs right here. The cadaver looks obviously very much like a cadaver, and you can see him dissecting the body. This painting changed Rembrandt's life. He was known from this point by everyone, the bourgeoisie, the common folk, the prince. So everyone was commissioning him at this time to do pieces, self-portraits, portraits. And that's when he met his wife, Saskia. At this time, Saskia came from a very wealthy, well-known family. And he was absolutely in love with her. He started to incorporate her as his model, and his pieces became, again, very much attention to detail and sensual and very different from the time. Unfortunately, Saskia birthed 4 children, but because of the 1600s and the complications with birth, 3 of them died within 4 weeks of birth. After she birthed their son, Titus, within a few months of his birth, she became very, very sick. And that's what inspired the piece that we have on our graphic image. This is a young woman sleeping, and this was her as she lay sick, dying on her bed. And it really broke Rembrandt. She eventually passed from tuberculosis, and at that point, his style really changed. He was very lonely and hired a nurse to help take care of his son Titus, ultimately developing a relationship with her, which was shunned by everyone because they were not married. It got more complicated, and you'll see his style change because he had a mistress as well, and the nurse didn't like the mistress and took him to court and lost. And then Rembrandt just sort of developed a style that was more focused on detail to sort of more of freedom of expression. This piece called A Night Watch was supposed to be very well received, and it was not. The military didn't like the way they were portrayed. You can see that there isn't a true event that they're attending to. It's like, what's going on here? Why is there this dog? How come this woman's randomly here? They couldn't find a purpose or didn't feel that this highlighted them very well. So from this point on, his style changed to more relaxed pieces, sketch work of landscaping, and he was basically shunned by the community and the bourgeoisie that didn't appreciate his artwork. Eventually, his son died, his mistress died, and 1 year later, he died in poverty. His pieces were sold for next to nothing. And now we know his pieces sell for 30, $40 million. But he died in poverty despite having made so much money through his pieces. But his life and his grief definitely influenced his style. And with that, I want to pass it to our contemporary artist who will also share how her art pieces were inspired by grief.
Thank you, Nadine. That was really great. Hello, everyone. Like Rembrandt, I can relate to the power of painting as we experience the good parts and the bad parts of life. My style is very different from his, and I think that's part of the beauty of art is we can both express the same type of feeling in a completely different way. My relationship with grief began in 2017. Some of you may know this and some of you don't. I was hit by a car while I was walking, and I'll save the details about that for another time. But in general, that's when the grieving process began for me. And I didn't really even understand it at the time. I was grieving parts of myself, even though I was still here. I was a completely different person. There were a lot of little things that I couldn't do, like even washing my own hair was very hard for me for a long time. And down to the big things, like even now, I can't drive a car. I have lost a sense of independence in a way. And importantly, even doing my job in architecture. So I grieve those parts of myself very much. And I took all of that to the canvas. And I'll show you a couple of pieces here. This one is called Faded. And this is listed with the Art Spread shop. And this represents feeling like being faded away. And you can see, I'll bring it a little closer. Some of the colors are there, and then there's some parts that are peeking through. And this just represents a time in my life where I felt like I was actually fading away. I was missing out on a lot of things, you know, the normal things like going to the movies and being able to sit for 2 or 3 hours. That was extremely painful for me. And I just wasn't able to do a lot of the things that I used to do with my friends or my significant other. And so that led to not just physical pain, but psychological distress as well. You know, and I grieve a lot of who I was, what my mind was like before. I have a lot of worst case scenarios that pop in my head all the time now, and makes it very hard to just kind of enjoy the good things that are happening in life because I've got these dark thoughts that are trying to compete with that. And usually at night, I'm sure most of you know, that's when, you know, it's the worst. So I work very hard in therapy to overcome those things. And again, most of the time, the only thing I can do is just paint it out. So I'll show you another piece. This one is called Shiver. It's also listed with the art spread. It's in the shop there. And this one represents PTSD. So for anyone who, I don't know if any of you experience post-traumatic stress disorder or if you know someone who does, you can understand that it changes who you are as a person and it changes the relationships around you. And that really happened for me. I was trying to figure out who I was now after all of these changes that happened in my life and all the things that I couldn't do. I was trying to figure out the things that I could do. With that, I was obviously going through a lot of emotional turmoil, and that kind of left me alone. I lost a lot of my friends, even my significant other for a period of time. I just felt like nobody could understand me or help me. So I became obsessed with painting. And that was really all that I wanted to do. I felt like, sounds a little bit weird, but at a certain point, the paintings became like, I don't know if they became like companionships to me, but I didn't feel as alone because I knew that whatever I had here, I was able to say on a piece of canvas, and it was there and able to connect with other people that way. And this is part of why we wanted to have this event, because again, like Nadine said earlier, we want people to know that you're not alone. And even if there's nothing that we can do to help in that moment, just knowing that you do have support, even if it's something like a text message or making a card or writing a letter or even just leaving a voicemail. A lot of times we're not up for a conversation, but just knowing that that person is thinking of us, it kind of makes us feel warm and supported and comforted. And I learned more as I grieved more. So a couple of years later, my father was diagnosed with cancer and he died very shortly after. And you can imagine that was a very painful experience for my family. And I'm not a person that's like comfortable with my words. So again, I used art to express that. But for a while after he passed, I couldn't paint anymore because he was that person who helped me take my artwork very seriously and let me know that this isn't just something that is for me anymore. This is something I need to share with the world. So painting was really hard to do while I was losing him because all I wanted to do was show him what I was making, and I couldn't. So there came a time actually when Nadine approached me about commissioning a piece for her, and she asked for a powerful animal. And I knew I had to do this. I wanted to do the lion. It's my father's favorite animal, and it represents our culture and strength and pride. So I knew that this was kind of my way back into the art world. And so I felt like, okay, I'm going to paint this animal. It's going to represent my father's essence, and I'm just going to get back into it. And yeah, there it is. She has it there right now. And Eva can attest to this. I had multiple breakdowns during this process. It was the hardest piece to paint. And again, it wasn't because the technique was very different for me, but just the emotional aspect of knowing, like, I wanted to represent him. So that was extremely difficult, but I think it was also cathartic in a way because once I did that, everything poured out of me from that. And then afterwards, I felt like I could grow my relationship with art again. So thank you, Nadine, for forcing me to do that. But
Welcome.
yeah, so again, I feel like those experiences taught me a lot of what I needed as a person, and I understood that people don't know how to do that sometimes because again, when I was losing my father, like a lot of my friends disappeared, and we did have like love and letters and support from people who were out of state. We have a lot of family out of state as well, but that like face-to-face connection was very limited. So we hope that this event is kind of a way to understand what people need during their grieving process and maybe what has worked for you or not worked for you. And with that, I'm actually going to introduce Eva, who is also our contemporary creative for this event. She expresses her grief through writing, and she has a really incredible story. So I'll let her dive into that. And then after her, we can ask some questions as well as we go into other speakers. So Eva, are you there?
Yes, I was trying to figure out how to unmute.
Oh.
So you all are younger than me. So my journey began with grief back in 2000. My son passed away. He was 4 months old, and he died of SIDS. And SIDS kind of leaves you hanging because there's no real reason. He was healthy. He wasn't sick. It was just a crazy shock. One day you have a healthy baby, and the next morning you don't. And it was just a really long process for me. The very, very first thing I did as we were like doing funeral planning and that kind of thing was I had written him a letter. I just felt like I had to get something out of me. And I just think it's very therapeutic to get it out of you, to get the grief out of you. Because if you just keep it in, like, it can turn to disease, it can turn to anything. It's dark. The second thing I did was I started putting together a scrapbook, and I'm so slow with everything I do. I put this book together in no time. It wasn't even a week. And it was just, it's a basic little scrapbook, but I mean, like I had even taken his handprint on a Father's Day. And like, I mean, God was just so good to us. We were able to do so many things, and he got to visit so many family. And so that really helped me putting this book together. And then whenever I was down, I'd look at it. And you know, different ones grieve differently. My husband to this day, he doesn't look at it. He doesn't watch his videos. The thing is, people grieve really differently, and you can't think that your way is the only way. You have to give them space to grieve how they need to grieve. Like, you're you and they're them, and nobody is anybody else. So we kind of have to keep that in perspective. And honestly, I just believe with all my heart, we're all made in the image of God, and God is the creator, and he made us to create. I mean, whether you're creating a design for engineering or you're creating a painting, um, you know, I learned a lot of things that I didn't know. I started gardening. I never gardened. And then I would think my grandpa had passed away. I would think about my grandpa and the times we had in the garden. And I would think about weeding and things like that never came to me before. But like how the weeds and cobwebs get in our head is just like how the weeds get in the yard. If we don't pull the weeds out of our mind, we're going to have a sick mind. And so one thing that helped me a lot, I blamed myself so much in the early days, and one thing that helped me so much was taking every thought captive. And I'd start catching myself when I was going down that low spiral, and I learned to take every thought captive. I'd like to, and Rowan was talking about how the nights are hard. The nights are the hardest. And I just want to show you guys, I don't know if it'll come through here. It's it's called Jesus's Words Only, and I'm going to link it in the chat room later, but it comes up as a black screen, and it's a very soft, soothing at night, and your phone doesn't go bright on you. It's just an easy therapeutic thing and something positive to listen to get your head in a better place. I had written this poem. It was about 15 years, and it's a process. I mean, I was journaling all the time. I just had to, whatever was on my heart, even if it was ugly, whatever it was, I just throw it out there. Even if I was mad at somebody, angry at God, angry at myself, I didn't forgive myself, I blamed myself, all those things, I would journal about them. And all that journaling, through the years, I got smarter about it, and it's turned into a book. And I've finally written a book, and it took me 20 years of processing, of realizing what was healthy, what wasn't healthy. Um, and the
Eva, what's the
craziest
book
part,
called?
The book is called Beauty Grows in the Dark. And
I'll put that in the chat.
Yes. And my tagline is, what if the worst thing that ever happened to you was from the very hand of God himself, and it's going to be the best thing. And I just, your mess will be your message one day. But it's a process, and it doesn't just happen. You got to do the hard work and the soul searching and the questioning, and it's okay to ask why. It's okay to fight. You got to fight for your life. Life is worth living. These days are precious, and we just want to encourage you to move forward. And if all you can do is just wash your face for that day, then that's all you can do, and don't worry about it. Just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. So this poem, let me see if I can show it to you guys here. Can you see that? Is it showing?
No, I think you raised your hand. Hit the present.
Do you use the hand?
No, the one next to it.
Oh, the video, the arrow. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then you have to click your screen.
Okay. Here, the arrow. Mm-hmm. So now can you see it? Still no?
No.
It's okay. I'll just read it to you guys. Okay. It's called I Call Out.
Is this a poem that you wrote, Eva, or that you found?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the poem I wrote. It was about 15 years after Ethan passed when I wrote this. I call out to every mother with empty arms. I call out to every father who feels forgotten, while everyone tends to the grieving mother. The husband who feels unable to protect his family from fatality. I call out to every brother and sister left behind. I call out to the grandparents lamenting as they comfort their anguished children. I call out to the empty crib. I call out to the dark of night in which uninvited visited our home. I call out the high chair, now empty in the corner. The pacifiers never to be used. The striped tennies that never got dirty. I call out to the first day of school that never came. The college fund that will never be used. The empty graduation gown. The wedding that will never be. The daughter-in-law I'll never have. The grandchildren that we were denied. I call out to God and I ask why. I call out to the giver of life. How did this turn to death? I call out to Adam and Eve. Why did you not believe? Look at the damage you've done, the death you've brought. Was obedience so demanding? The Garden of Eden so disappointing? Then I whispered to Job, thank you for treading the path before. Your story was my saving grace. Heaven indeed induced your scorching test of faith. You kept looking upward. I'm sorry, I can't even see this. I'm crying. You kept looking upward. You argued your case, never faltering with the maker of universe, fully aware God alone knows the beginning from the end. I look forward to meeting you, my truest friend, because I know how your story ends. And the crazy thing is, when I was pregnant for Ethan, I wanted to name him Job. And I just wanted a simple strong biblical name. And my name's Eva, 3 letters. My daughter is Zoe, 3 letters. And Job is 3 letters. And everybody looked at me like I was a crazy woman. And I had no idea because I was biblically illiterate. I didn't know anything. I didn't know this story. And while I'm pregnant, I'm reading the book of Job and I'm thinking to myself, I fought with God. I can't even tell you guys how much. The book is insane. Really, God hands him over on a silver platter. And really, the gist of the whole book is God and we're not. And through the whole book, it's 40 some chapters. He's asking why, why. And he never gets an answer. And I already knew that when all this happened. And I knew I wouldn't get an answer for my why. But I knew that there's something greater. And I knew his test of faith is what kept me going day after day. And I think if you can trace back the fingerprints, see, I'm on the other side now. And if you're in the middle of it, it's too hard to see in the middle of it. But when you're on the other side, you're going to see fingerprints all over the place that God was carrying you, that he brought other people your path. He brought angels your path to carry you through the season of darkness. And what really, really finished this book for me was the craziest thing ever. 2 years ago, my niece passed away, and my niece, she died in a fatal car accident. And my sister, it was right after Rowan's dad passed away. We were just slammed with her dad and then my niece. And it was just, and just a little before that, we had a cousin that died of cancer, and she's left with 3 little kids behind, and her husband's a widower. And so we've just had a lot of things going on of hardship and loss, and all these dear people dance in my head and in my heart, and I never stop praying for them. And so I really believe we're here for each other, and you need us and we need you. And don't isolate yourself. I think isolation is the worst thing you can do for yourself. I mean, there's seasons where you do that. And honestly, I made that. I learned how to do woodworking. I learned how to sew. I just keep learning because I just need to get it out of me. And as you do something, I've done so many things that were so ugly, and then like I kept working on it, and like the garbage is fertilizer for something more beautiful. And don't get disgusted with yourself. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. You would not talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself sometimes. And so those are things I just want you to keep. And forgiveness, forgive yourself, forgive whoever hurt you. Forgiveness is the most beautiful, beautiful treasure. And so I just wanted to share with you guys what I learned. And just the best thing that ever happened to me was I saw how God recycles the craziest pain, because as my niece passed away, every day I got to walk with my sister, and every day I got to lift her a little higher. And I've been able to share the things, and we've been together trying to figure out what's useful. And she's just kept busy like crazy, and that's what's gotten her through her days. And you just have to know what to do to keep you moving, and just do the next right thing. Just please, I ask you, don't stay in a paralyzed state. I have some dear ones that are just still in a pit, and it just kills me that they have not moved forward or done anything useful. And I just beg of you to just move forward. Just take one baby step.
And Eva, I wanna thank you for sharing all that. I think your story is very helpful for people who are also grieving, and the way you've given us tips is something I could never express because I haven't necessarily experienced what you've experienced. If anyone has questions, by the way, I don't think we were able to announce this for Eva. You can either ask it, jump in, or just put it in the chat box, and we're happy to direct that to her. I do want to ask you just one question, Eva. Is your book available for purchase, or how can we get a copy of that?
I am in process of editing it still,
Okay.
so I expect it'll be ready in the new year. I have a friend helping me edit it right now, so we're finishing it up.
When it's ready, please let us know, and we'll make an announcement to all of our members so they can get a copy.
I've read it. It's
I
wonderful.
would love that.
Good.
Go on with my first garbage draft edit.
I didn't think it was garbage at all. It was great. Speaking of writing, we have a couple of letters that were written by people that are here who wanted to express themselves through writing. So I will let Olivia take over.
Hello. So I'll just read what my brother wanted to express. He could not be in the meeting today, but he's my brother, and Alon happens to be my sister-in-law. I just wanted to share what he wrote as his spokesperson, which is weird because if you knew my brother, you would know that's just weird for me to talk for him. I will start. He says, I visited my fading grandfather in his nursing home room one last time in the summer of 2012. He had Alzheimer's disease and dementia, which prevented him from recognizing his own family. He had been suffering from these diseases for some time. Oftentimes, I would elect to not go visit him when given the opportunity. It was too difficult for me at that time, as a stupid 20-year-old, to see him in his state of mind when my fondest memories of him were when I was a young child and he was a vibrant young man. I regret that decision. It will haunt me until the day that I die. I visited my fading grandmother in her nursing home room one last time on a Sunday afternoon in July of 2018. At that time, she knew what we all did. At that time, she knew what we all did not want to admit to ourselves. She would soon be leaving us. My grandmother's English was not the best, and I could not communicate with her in Spanish. Regardless of her 5th grade education, she managed to write in my birthday card every year, sometimes in Spanish. I took those letters of love and threw most of them out foolishly. I regret that decision and will haunt me until the day that I die. Sometimes I reminisce about my grandparents and all that they did for our family. I think about the sacrifices they made, their incredible dedication to their work, the hardships they experienced, the social and cultural tensions they might have experienced and or attempted to shield their children from. I think about their bravery and courage to leave their native island of Puerto Rico so that they could have a shot at a bigger and better life for their family. These were the 2 instances that I have felt an unhealthy amount of grief. For me, grief has led me down a path to feelings of anger, inadequacy, and envy. Anger because I can never again show them the full fruits of their hard work and sacrifice. Inadequacy because I know I could have been a better grandchild to them. And I know I will never be half the man that they were. And envy primarily because I was one of the youngest grandchildren to both of them. I wish I had more time with my grandparents like my older cousins did. Without them, there is no me. There is no Diaz or Escalante family as they are known today. How do you repay that? How can you go on through life knowing that you will never be able to express your gratitude and appreciation for their sacrifice and unconditional love again? How can you lose them before having the chance, the opportunity to show them how much they truly mean to you? Grief is missed opportunities. Grief is regret. Grief is a void in your heart. Grief is painful. Grief is debilitating. But I've also found that grief can be motivational. grief can be inspirational. Grief can be enlightening. Motivational because I now strive every day to be more like my grandparents. Inspirational because every goal and every achievement is in honor of them. And enlightening because you learn how to become a stronger individual mentally, emotionally, and even physically. I hope my battle with grief is relatable. If so, no, you are not alone. I've never told anyone, not even my wife, these feelings or just how much my grief has affected me and continues to torment me. Talk to your grieving friend. Love your grieving friends. I wouldn't even want my greatest enemy, Jim Harbaugh, to imagine grieving without friends and family by their side. Without them, I would not have this perspective nor the urgency to share it. Thank you for listening. I think for me personally, growing up in obviously the same household, we still had different experiences grieving our losses. Me especially so with my grandfather, because I would have to go with my mom to take care of him and visit him more. And it can be years and it can be like it was yesterday still. I'm getting married in 2 weeks. And I would give anything to have had them there. And it can be, some days where it's still the hardest day, where it feels like it was moments ago, where it will come out of nowhere. And my brother and I have been very blessed with family and friends who have stuck by us through it. Because otherwise it would have been a lot harder to get through. And knowing that our grandparents would be very proud of us and happy for us gets me through the day sometimes, just to know that they would be happy. But I know I've seen that in my brother sometimes, but there's always healing in grieving. But it's never easy, and it's never just a matter of time. It's a matter of doing, of trying, of keeping at it. But thank you.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thanks, Olivia.
And I think that's so just powerful hearing that, because like he said in the letter, like I've never even heard Mateo talk this way. So to have him be able to express himself like that through a letter, I think says a lot about just what Eva was saying about getting it out of you and putting it on paper or canvas or whatever it is that you do. We actually have another letter that I'd like to read to you all. This is from another person who's here with us as well. She just lost she had a miscarriage very recently, and she also, put pen to paper and wrote it out, and it's titled "My Angel Baby." I love you so much. I always will. Seeing your heartbeat was one of the happiest moments of my life. I couldn't wait to hold you and watch you grow and play with your big brother and sister. I couldn't wait to see your beautiful face, but you went to be with Jesus, and I will never know why you were taken so soon. My heart is broken. Your daddy was so excited for you too. I will always think of you and love you forever and always. I'll always be your mommy, and you're my sweet baby. I'm so sorry we never got to hold each other. I can't wait to meet you in heaven. Love, Mommy. So I think just knowing that, you don't have to have this special skill or talent, as long as you are able to write something or even just say it. Sometimes I just grab a phone and start talking to it just to kind of hear how it's coming out, and other ways to express myself. But we actually also have Nadine and then 2 more speakers who would like to share about their experience. So Nadine, you can let me know how you want to go in order of that.
Sure. So I'm not going to take too much time on my own experiences. I really like how we're all telling our stories. Just what Eva was saying earlier in terms of isolation. So when I've experienced grief in different forms other than death, it's really important not to isolate, because when you're isolating, you can be alone and grieve. There's no problem with that. But when you're forcing isolation your mind just gets darker and darker. And I've experienced 30 years of a lot of darkness. And to be honest with everyone on this call, the art spread has really helped me come out of that. It's given me purpose outside of my job. It's given me connections and getting to meet people and talk with people. And most importantly, help others who are not in a good spot and looking for ways to express and spread perspective. So with that, just schedule activities, calls, FaceTimes, whatever you can to get yourself out of the darkness. And like Eva was saying too, through darkness, we learn the most about ourselves. It's sometimes things just happen for a reason you could never understand, but you'll take that and you'll learn why at some point something happened to you. And with that, I'd like to pass it to our next speaker.
Okay. Chanel, if you'd like to go ahead. Chanel is a vibrant young woman. She's awesome. I'm excited to hear her share about her experience.
I think Chanel just stepped up for a second.
Derek, are you there? If anyone else would like to join in, feel free to do so. Oh, is someone here? Chanel?
Chanel, yeah.
Hi, Chanel. Are you ready to go?
Hi.
Hello.
So I'm like running back and forth.
Oh.
This is like the first time speaking about my grandpa. So I'm not sure like what everyone has said. Unfortunately, I didn't get to be here the whole time. I don't even know where to start. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. You can start with just tell us about your grandfather, what he meant to you. You can start there.
So my parents are divorced, and my dad is obviously still in my life, but my grandpa kind of took over the role of being like the father figure in my life. So he was, you know how they say like your soulmate doesn't have to just be a relationship, like it could be a friend, it could be a sister, it could be your pet, like it could be anything. I truly believe in my heart that my grandpa was my soulmate. Ever since I was younger, we were attached by the hip. It was always us two, like doing everything and anything. He'd pick me up from school, do everything for me. He was just my best friend. He was someone that kind of like, your parents, of course, they love you, but like unconditionally. But it's like when you talk to your grandparents, like they don't judge you or like this and that. Like they just like, they literally just listen to you and try to give you the best advice that they can give you without being like the obsessive like parents trying to make you perfect. You know what I mean? My grandpa passed away about 6 months ago and from cancer. And it was really hard because I feel like everyone talks about like grieving after the fact that it happens, but when you're watching someone that like you love a lot and that's like really close to you kind of just disintegrate, no one really talks about the grieving while they're still here and like them changing into something that is like not what you've always remembered and always had with you. So for me, when that was happening, I kind of like came to terms with myself that it wasn't real. So I would kind of like ignore it and just like act like everything was okay and like be like, oh, he's fine, like he's gonna get better, like nothing's gonna happen to him, nothing can happen to him. So when his death did happen, it was very hard for me to accept it because I should have kind of accepted it like weeks before watching him, and I saw him and I knew what was going on and I saw that he was kind of just disintegrating in front of me, but I wasn't accepting it at all. I just played as if like it was like totally normal, like he's gonna get better, like one day it's just like something's gonna happen and he's gonna be better. Like there's no way that someone this close to me could leave me so early. So when he did pass, it was very traumatizing to me because I like was not prepared for it at all, as I should have been. And he has left like the biggest hole in my heart that I could never ever be able to fill. like you said, Olivia, like there are days where you like feel like you're totally fine, and then like one morning you'll wake up and you're just like, wait, I'm not okay at all, and kind of just like demolish and just like fall apart. And I mean, the best way I've been trying to cope is keeping busy. And I've been getting like a lot of tattoos. I know that sounds like weird, but I don't know why tattoos are just like helping me cope at the moment. I just got like my favorite tattoo a week ago, and I found one of his old birthday cards that he wrote to me, and it said "I love you" on it. So I like tatted that on my wrist in red ink in his handwriting. So now that like anytime I'm having a bad day, I don't need to hear him say it. I can kind of just look at him say it. And that to me, like once I got that tattoo, I don't know what it was about it, but it took so much relief off of my body, and like I just felt like 100 pounds lighter knowing like that was there for me. But I don't know what else to say. Like, he was just very special to me, and it's very hard to grieve for someone that, like I said, like, when they're there and you have to, like, start to grieve for them before they're even gone. You hear him say, like, I know everyone looks at me different now, or, like, I know, like, I'm going to be passing soon. Like, you don't want to hear someone say that. You don't want... It hurts you to know that they're even feeling that way, and, like, you try to make it okay, and you're just like, I don't know how to, like, do anything. You literally can't do anything. And it's so hard when it's like, you want to do everything for this person, but you can't do anything to help. And you kind of just sit there and watch it happen. But I know he's okay, and I remind myself every day of our good times rather than the bad times of us helping him. He lived with us during this time of him going through his cancer. So we saw it all, but I always remind myself what he was before that and how he's always going to be that. And the moments I hold on to the most are the times where he was going through it and he still like kind of like peeked through, and I saw him rather than like what he was going through. But grief is hard, and when people say time heals everything, it's like, I just want to be like, are you sure? Like, have you ever really gone through it? Because time really does not heal everything. Time helps you get busy and distracted and kind of become numb to it. But I feel like it does not. Time doesn't really heal everything. And I'm always going to hurt for him. Whether it's just a simple little, like, tear falling down my face, or one day I'm bawling my eyes out, I don't even want to go to work today. My heart will always ache for him, and I feel like when you lose someone very close to you, your heart's always going to feel sometimes what your body and your mind block out. But, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
That was perfect, Chanel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Unfortunately, Derek's asleep for long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Sorry. It's
That's
so
okay.
busy today. I'm sorry.
I'm glad that you were able to join. I think, Chanel, you kind of said it perfectly, too. Like, I don't really believe that grief ever leaves you. Like, once it's there, you're never going to get over that or move past it. It's just, how do we live with it? So, and I want to... Oh, go ahead, Eva.
Can I add one thing to that? You know, honestly, I feel like it's like an amputation, like a part of you is missing. And you have to learn to live with that amputation. Your grandpa would not want you stuck forever like this, you know. So, like, but you're never going to be the same. But I have something for you. God is a gap filler. And if you ask him to bring somebody your path to fill in the gap that's missing, like, he just does. He just does. When we moved to El Paso, we moved from everybody in Michigan. I left my business behind. I was a very successful real estate agent, and I had to close the doors on it and leave the state. Years later, like about 4 years later, God brings me a little boy that was exactly my Ethan's age, that I got to see, they were just across the street from us. He was in our house. My kids were at his house. I got to see how the three little kids would have worked out if Ethan had been with me. And like, I just treasure those days and treasure that time. And I saw they were always fighting 2-against-1, and and I didn't have to live with that every day. But I love you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eva, and thanks Olivia and Chanel. And I really want to thank you all for joining this event, because it's a really dark topic and it's not something that lightens your Saturday. It's kind of a heavier subject to talk about, but we really want to incorporate how we feel, how that connects to art, and how historically art has expressed what we can't do in words. Before we close off, we've got about 3 minutes. I just want to let you all know we have a blog post on our website that I've written, and you can certainly comment with suggestions, tips. You can DM us, call us, text us, email us. Don't ever feel like you're alone. Like I said, I've extended my cell phone number and my email. Any time of the day or night, my phone is always on loud, except for right now. You can call, text if you need someone to talk to. I'm very much serious about that. And just one more thing. So at night when I was having dark thoughts, and you know, you don't want to just be on your phone constantly looking at social media. I've actually started reading. So this one is called The Stand by Stephen King. I do like sort of dark books, but it helps me connect to characters and their problems and how they're overcoming it. And plus, The Stand is kind of about like a COVID situation, so it's really interesting to see how he was able to forecast that. But check out the blog. We are having an event next month. We all hope that you can attend. Let us know how this has helped you, if it has, or if you feel like we should have expanded on anything else a little bit more. And again, thank you so much, Luan, if you want to.
Yeah, and if you've got, this is all recorded, so we will upload this to YouTube and we'll let you know when that's ready. But if you've got friends that you think might benefit from this, or, you know, any of our other events, please bring them along. I know we all know someone who's going through something, so we just want to spread that and try to support as much as we can. So again, the blog post is up. It's called The Art of Grieving, and there will be a recap that Nadine is going to post after this weekend. Go ahead and just dump all your ideas there. That'll be great for people coming in to read what you've got to say. You can share your story again. We really want to engage our community and let them know, you know, we're all going through the same things. And again, thank you so much for expressing yourself to us. I know it's not easy to do, and we can't thank you enough for being a part of this. And we hope to see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Love you guys.
Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.